Well, there's a few things to work on. I think it's fair to say from the start that our efforts have been there. We certainly haven't been lacking in effort. We've been lacking perhaps in decision making, and perhaps when you come up against two real class sides, they will hurt you if you turn the ball over when you're indecisive. And so it's certainly not been effort, but when I look back over, say, the Geelong and Hawthorn game, we've given them opportunity to score via perhaps a poor decision or poor execution. Now, at the end of the day, the class sometimes is just that little bit different that just takes you, that Selwood comes out of a pack and goes bang from 40 metres and knocks it straight over. Suckling gets it from outside 50 and just turns something from nothing into a goal. So I never criticise teams that have a real crack at it, and I think our boys have really worked hard to make sure that they're accountable, that we have effort. So you don't practice that. That's either built in, or it's unfortunately sadly lacking. But right now that's not the point. So our decision making and our execution, we just got to keep working on that. We just work on repetition with the footy. I don't know if the word's frustration. I think it's more disappointment that we just haven't got over the line. But that sometimes feeds into the next level of making sure a commitment to excellence, and hopefully mistakes that are made. And life's full of mistakes that you don't repeat, and that's the big test under pressure. This side we're playing are a very, very talented side, and they proved that last week. They're young, they don't they stand up to the physicality. So we're not going to get them that way. They're a good football side, and they've demonstrated through this year they're one of the very few sides to beat Sydney. Yeah, well, we'll let that thing look after itself. But there's no doubt. I think we're playing as good a football as we've played in the 18 months, and yet we haven't won games. Now, is there a shift in the competition? Yeah, there's always a shift in the competition. Does it go up? Most times it goes up marginally. It doesn't always go up because sometimes the year flattens out or even drops below. But we're comfortable that the side we're trying to put out there is one that's growing. We've identified a weakness in the back line in height, so we've put Sam Rowe down there. And as we discussed before you guys come in here, have you improved, Sam? And his answer, I've got more accustomed to playing on the big name players. I have tried to improve every week by just taking one step at a time. So he's now in the phase of being a highly reliable key back. Last week I thought Levi Casbolt took a giant step in regard to understanding that we don't just put him in the side now, we rely on him to be in the side. And he's starting to feel more accustomed to that. Now, his big test will be when Cruiser returns. Can we play those players all together? And what he's got to do is now demonstrate before Matthew gets back that he is a first pick player. And let Matthew have to work for his. So we will get better by players returning, and it's the same with the midfield with Chris Judd. Are we better with him in? Of course we are. He's a champion player. Can we do without him? We've got to make sure our side wins games when he's not playing, which we've done. But now we've got to say, well, who's going to take over? Now, unfortunately, Cripps broke his leg, but he'll be back in the next couple of weeks, and we'll give him an opportunity. When he plays good football in the reserves, he'll come back in. So there's a lot of things that are going forward that probably are not noticeable on the win-loss ratio, but we feel very comfortable that players are improving. Simon White's another classical case. I think he may have played 15, 20 games in 6 years or 5 years. Now he's a consistent performer. And again, the question levelled at him today pre-match was, pre-training was, what do you need to do to consistently perform at a high level that enables us to know that you're going to be able to beat your opponent? So there's all those little tests coming up. Well, I can't say that because we've got a Sunday game. This is our main training session. And all we do is try for the AFL point of view is to put 25 names down that are all going to be considered.
So they've still got to get through.
Oh yeah. If you miss a week and it's a lead-up week and this is our main training session, you've got to get through training. And then even tomorrow morning to see how that you pull up. We don't want to get people on the plane and find out when we get to Sydney that they're not ready to go. Well, it becomes a 3-3 forward line, assuming you're saying that Henderson plays on the forward line. I'm grateful, for his words, but more importantly, I don't coach for. I'd like to think I've got an eye on the future, but I coach on the day to get the best out of our player group for our supporters and our club. Clearly, Mark's a new voice in our football club. My association with him has been brief, but I'm highly encouraged by his passion for the football club. His continued direction from Stephen Kernan where he thinks the club's going to grow, and there's no doubting his enthusiasm is very contagious. He's a very enthusiastic person that wants to see us as a football club reclaim some identity, if you like in the last half a dozen years or more. The club hasn't been in the top four, so what we as a football club want to do is to be a consistent performer at the top level. Now we've got to get there, and then we've got to hold it. So I know we're on the right track. We've got a wonderful football section, and we've got a playing group that will change a little bit over this year. But I think the standard from last year has been risen by the players we brought into the football club, and we'll do that again. So I think the fundamentals are that we are all on the same track. No, I wouldn't see us go that deep. No. You've got to. There's a lot to consider. One is how deep the draft and the availability of players. That's number one. Then number two is you can't just forsake just move numbers out. And I hate that word cut, because I think everyone has got to have the knowledge that players come in here with a dream to play AFL football, and sometimes that's cut short. And it's not a matter of whether they have the right attitude. Sometimes it's whether we need to move the players from underneath to keep raising the standard. It's an elite organisation, elite football industry we're in, and unfortunately there are going to be, and I'll call them victims, because they're all fantastic young men that just sometimes have to find another home. But that's just the nature of the game, that you continually keep challenging players, and by doing that, to raise the standard, sometimes you have to be reasonably harsh, but you also got to be exact in your science, and not just willy-nilly just cut for the cut's sake. It sounds good, 10 numbers. It's just not the way I like it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.